Need a review on completing the square? Well, watch this video. I'm going to go through the three main ways that completing the square is asked. So this is a completing the square question. It's simply asking you to rewrite this quadratic into the completed square form. It never asks you to necessarily complete the square, but that is the process, and it's by putting it in this form. So how do we do it? First of all, we're just focusing on this section here. And what we do is we take the coefficient in front of the x and we half it. So we write x minus 3, that's half of the x coefficient, squared. Now, if I were to expand that, that would give you x squared minus 6x plus 9 at the end. I don't want plus 9, I'm just dealing with the x squared minus 6x to start with. So we always subtract this number at the end, the 3, squared. If it's positive or negative, it doesn't matter. It's always just subtract that number squared. And then we do want that minus 13. So the minus 13 can then be placed at the end. So that first part there deals with makes x squared minus 6x, but then we need to take away 13 from it. Okay, so we can now neaten this up. We can join together the minus 9 minus 13. So we have x minus 3 squared, subtract 9, subtract 13, gives you minus 22. Okay, and that is in the completed square form. Right, what's the point of this then? Why are we using it? So first of all, you may just be asked a question to complete the square and put it in that form. That's fine. It is worth pointing out quickly, some people get a little bit thrown because they think that the b and the a have to be positive because it's a positive in front of it. Not necessarily, it can be a negative number. So just to clarify that. So you now could be asked two further things to do with it. The first one is you may want to solve it. In this form, they're really easy to solve. So if I was given the equation x squared minus 6x minus 13 equals 0, that is now a quadratic to solve. First, we would have it in the completed square form. So x minus 3 squared minus 22 equals 0. All I've done is rewritten this into the completed square form. Right, now solving this then. X minus 3 squared, we're going to add the 22 to both sides to start with, so that equals 22. Then I'm going to square root it to get rid of the square. X minus 3 is the root of 22, and then we need to add on the 3. X equals the root of 22, add 3. Okay, when we're solving quadratics, there are always two solutions, because remember, we are finding the coordinates, the points where it crosses the x-axis. When it equals 0, y is 0, we're finding the two coordinates where it crosses the y-axis. So imagine that this quadratic looks something like this. There's going to be two coordinates there. However, you may be thinking that's only one solution, but it's not one solution. You can square root any number to get a positive or negative answer. Okay, so we need to take the negative root of 22 and the positive root of 22. Just to make that clearer, for example, if I square rooted 4, I could have a solution plus 2 or minus 2, because negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4, as well as positive 2 times positive 2 being 4. Okay, so the two solutions there are plus the solution, so plus root 22 plus 3, and minus root 22 plus 3. Apologies, that should be a 3 there. Okay, right, so that's the first way it could be used, and that is solving it, getting two values for x. Okay, the second one is working out the turning points of the quadratic graph. Now, when it's in this form, it's really easy to see what the turning point is. Now, a turning point is a minimum or maximum point on a quadratic. If it's a positive x squared, that would be your turning point, and if it's a negative x squared, then your turning point would be something up here. I mean, today we've got a minimum point because it's a positive curve. It's this shape, so we're going to have a minimum point. Right, how do I figure that out then? Well, the most negative value that y could be, the lowest possible point of y, is when this bracket equals 0. This bracket could never be negative because it's being squared. So to cut out all the talk, all we have to do is work out what is the value of x to make this bracket negative 0, and that's the x coordinate. So the x is 3, and that's always then your y coordinate, negative 22. So it's always figure out what would make that 0, what x value makes that 0, and it would be 3 in this case, and then that's always your y coordinate. Okay, just to show you that, if I've got the graph just here, so this is the graph of x squared minus 6x minus 13, and there you can see your turning point. Look, at the point here, this is the coordinate 3, negative 22, and it's only when it's in that completed the square format makes it really easy to see that. Okay, hope that helps.